Welcome, everybody. Happy Wednesday. We hope you guys are all enjoying this wonderful Wednesday evening. We're very excited. As you guys know, my name is Candice Reyes. I'll be your host this evening with the Exchange live sessions that happens every Wednesdays here on the Jazz Exchange page. So we want to welcome you guys to the live stream. As you guys know, if this is your first time joining in with us, well, welcome. We're so happy to have you here with us. As you all can see, you can like and subscribe to all our pages on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And then you can visit us on our website, thejazzexchange.org, where you can find some more information and get some, more details on what we've been doing, what we've been currently working on, and all these wonderful Exchange live sessions. You can go back onto our website and watch a lot of them, previous ones that maybe you have missed or maybe you'd like to be interested in. But tonight we have a very special guest, and I'm going to be bringing her on soon. But before we do that, I do want to bring up some updates on the Jazz Exchange. As you all know, we have an educational program with the Jazz Exchange, which is pretty recent. It's been about 3 years. This is our third year. And this is a program that we are in collaboration with Jazz House Kids, which is a nonprofit in Montclair, New Jersey. The Jazz Exchange Education Program, we build bridges between communities through music education. And so we partnered up with Jazz House Kids, with Melissa Walker and Christian McBride, and also partnering up with S-Mart. And the way we support our students is, since my husband, Abel Mireles, and I are the founders of the Jazz Exchange, we are both, I'm from El Paso, Texas, and he's from Juarez, Chihuahua. And so we get students from our hometown to have the opportunity to come to the East Coast and experience these wonderful workshops and the Montclair Jazz Festival and all these amazing teaching artists from around the world. So our students have the opportunity to get out of their local communities, to go out and explore and experience jazz music outside of their hometown. So it's really a great opportunity to see these young musicians who come and have these experiences. And now, we have two of the musicians, two of our alumni who are going to be attending the new school and have, some great opportunities because of this program. So if you're interested, you can always visit our website and get some more information on the educational program. And you can maybe even sponsor a student. That's always very helpful in times like this. So this year we had it virtual, and we were able to have about four or five students from Juarez, Chihuahua this time around come and be part of this virtual experience. So that's a really cool thing that we've been doing recently. And then the other thing, as you all know, we have the Jazz Exchange Relief Fund that has been going on since literally COVID hit. I think we were the first organization kind of to just put something out there. We've raised, close to $4,000, which has been very, grateful and appreciative. And this is to full-time musicians who just need the support. And with this Jazz Exchange Relief Fund, this goes directly to the artist. And so the way we do that is we support them with financial donation to the artist, but we also give them work to be creative and still use music as their platform and as what they're always used to doing. So if you can go to our GoFundMe, it's still open. $5, $20, $50, $100, whatever is always helpful, because that is something that goes directly to our full-time musicians. So please, we appreciate your donation, and we understand that you pick from different organizations and so many who are interested and who need the support. So we appreciate your donation to the Jazz Exchange Relief Fund. Also, this month is National Hispanic Heritage Month. It started yesterday, September 15th, and it goes all the way through October 15th. I'm super excited because the National Hispanic Heritage Month is pretty much a period from September 15th through October 15th in the U.S. for recognizing the contributions and influences of Hispanic Americans to the history and culture and the achievements here in the United States. So there's a lot of things, and as you all know, Abel and myself, we are Hispanic, so we are very happy and proud to be part of this culture. And there's a lot of brothers and family members out there as well. So very important. So happy National Hispanic Heritage Month for everybody out there watching. And also, so, these are just some of the things that we do here at the Exchange live sessions and the Jazz Exchange. We kind of update you guys on some of the things that we're doing. But without further ado, I'm really excited because today we have a very, very special guest who I'm going to call her my friend because when I first met her, she was, when I started working at Jazz House Kids, I met her as a teaching artist. And, but without further ado, she is a percussionist. She's a vocalist, an educator, composer from Brooklyn. She is versed in the Latin percussion, with all these amazing instruments. And she's recognized as one of many, a handful of females who can play the bata. That's an instrument that we'll probably even talk about, in the United States. So it's so great to have her here this evening. So I'd like to bring on our special guest, the amazing Miss Lisette Santiago. There we go. Hi, Lisette. How are you? Oh, there we go.
Candace.
How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good. ¿Cómo estás, mi amiga? Muy bien.
Aquí. Como siempre.
Para todos los familia y amigos que hablan español, saludos también a todos desde el Jazz Exchange, ¿verdad?
¿Verdad? Lo queremos también.
That's right. So where are you tuning in today right now with us? Where are you in right now?
I'm tuning in from Chez Lisette, right? So I'm in actually one of my living rooms. I like this because it faces the it's really quiet, and it faces so right now it's my living room / practice room / teaching room.
Okay.
Going on here, and it's quiet back here.
Very nice. And you're where, in New Jersey, Brooklyn? Where are you?
So I'm in Jersey City.
Okay.
But don't tell my Brooklyn people because growing up, that's just a no.
How dare you?
But Jersey City is great. Also, don't tell people because it's starting to get gentrified, and and the rents go up. But I love Jersey City. It's a great city, and there's a lot of culture here.
Yeah, definitely. I've been there, and I have a few friends, and including yourself. I actually didn't know you were in Jersey City. But yeah, that's great. Yeah, now I know. Now whenever I go over there, I know where to visit. I'm so happy to have you this evening. Thank you so much for, coming in and taking some time out of your busy schedule. You are a full-time teacher. And I know that's something that is a whole new world in this time that we are in with teaching virtually. And I think later on we'll go into that. But for those of you guys tuning in, as you were tuning in, we were listening to some amazing music. I'm sure you all were listening to all those percussion instruments and the Latin sound. And I just wanted to ask you, Lisette, what's this tune about? Maybe you could give us a little back piece or some story to this.
Okay. Well, so this group that you heard is Bill Cole's Untempered Ensemble, and I met Bill Cole back in 2014. It might be, I think that's, if I'm not mistaken, or it might be sooner than that. But when I met him, Gennaro Coleman, who Ornette Coleman's son, had reached out to me because Jane Cortez had passed, and they were doing a memorial to her, and they wanted me to open for her, which was such a great honor, like to play bata and open for her.
Wow.
And so of course I said yes. And then while I was there, I saw Randy Western and just all these incredible, because Jane Cortez, I don't know if you knew, she had a group called the Fire Spitters. And
Mm.
so the Fire Spitters, she's a poet and she wrote a lot of books. She was married to Ornette Coleman.
Ah,
And
okay.
she was married to Ornette, and she used to do she had a group called the Fire Spitters where they would play music, and she would, it was like spoken word, jazz,
Ah, love
spoken
it.
word. And
Yeah.
so I don't know if it precedes rap. I mean, I'm not going to say that it does because I don't know enough to say that, but I
Right.
feel like they're kind of right, like in the same sort of, like they're
Yeah.
colleagues, right? They all kind of started from the same place, that improvisational family, or way of thinking. And so when I met Bill Cole, I met him there, and he was like, "I need to have you in my group," and I was like, "Sure." Like I'm it's not like I get much at that time. I was really venturing forth professionally, playing bata and playing three bata at the same time.
Mm.
So just, finding situations that I can play in that weren't traditional,
Ah, okay.
was something new. And so he brought me into his group, which included Warren Smith. I don't know if you know him, but
Ooh.
Warren started M Boom with Max Roach. And
Wow.
then Joseph Daly, who plays tuba, is just an amazing composer. Bill Cole, of course, he plays these instruments that are untempered, reed instruments.
That's what I was gonna ask you
Yeah,
about because that's like the first thing, like you hear the in this tune, you hear the percussion come in, and then all of a sudden you hear these like sounds, and I was like, wait a minute, what's happening? Is that me? But then it like you just saying untempered instruments makes it a lot
right.
more clear. Wow,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah. So he plays like a Chinese pidi flute. He plays like things that are non-Western.
Okay.
So non-Western reed instruments, I guess, to be. So he'll also
Mm,
play like didgeridoo
yeah,
and the
love.
Chinese sona and the Korean pidi. I'm sorry, the the flute is Korean. And so, yeah, and then Gerald Beasley on drum, and Raz Moshe, who's an incredible saxophone player. And
Wow.
and basically, they brought me into the world of free jazz. Like that was my entry, even though I had listened to it like and loved it since high school. Like I wasn't. That was like my real like gig and professional like.
That was
And
your moment to
I was like a kid
experience.
I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And they were like, that's right. That's what it is about. Like you don't know what to do and you make something, create it on the spot. And I was like, and it was like I felt so
Wow.
welcome, so loved by that group. I mean, everyone there was just amazing. And so like, I think it really helped with my creative side of me.
That's awesome. And I was gonna ask you, so on this particular song, you were playing bata.
No,
What
on
were you playing?
this particular song, I'm playing congas. I'm just playing like a wabanco out of the traditional clave sense. But I was
Okay.
playing. I started in a 6/8. So one of the great things about playing with Warren Smith, who's one of my favorite drummers to play with, is that he can be really like it's like he knows where how to have a conversation.
Mm, mm.
So a lot is going on, and it sounds like it's more than two people, like when him and I play, but it's just because he's so musical and
Right.
and yet there's still space to be heard. So
Right.
which is very rare,
And
when
when
you
when you say conversation, because I just want to make sure, is like it's a musical conversation.
yes.
And so for those of you who aren't music or music oriented or don't understand, it's like there's a whole level, right? Lisette, it's like a whole other level of having this communication and conversation between musicians through their instruments.
Right.
That's
I
so
mean,
cool.
yeah. I think like the ensembles I like listening to the most are the ones who are like there's just this back and forth between everyone, and it isn't so much like people trying to one up
Ah,
each
that's a
other.
great
You know
point.
what I mean?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Sonny, what was it? Sonny Rollins. There was an article just recently where he talked about that one up meant like how he regretted trying to do that with. And oh man, I'm not, see, this is my recall sometimes, especially it could get the best, but basically what he was saying was music is about uh having a conversation, but also about like communing. You
Mm.
know,
Mm.
like
Yeah.
it's about being a better person. And how do you, like for me, how am I challenged to be a better person, and how am I meeting that challenge, right? Like,
Right.
it's, and music is just a part of it, but it's not the end all,
Right.
of
Right. Right. Right.
that journey. So, but
Man,
yeah,
that's I mean, and it's it could go deep, it really is to that like level of, self-awareness, just playing amongst your fellow musicians or in a band. And I think it's so important because, just like anybody else, when you're having it's like when you explain something to somebody, it's like when you're having a conversation. And if we want to give an example of how that one up would be, it's like somebody would be talking and then you talk over and talk loud, right? That's kind of the example of what the one up feels. And it's not a regular thing. You feel like, wait, what was that? Whereas when somebody's just having this conversation, and like you and we can have this conversation of a flow, then it just kind of like you reply, we answer, we connect. And I think that's so important. It's the language of music, right? I think that's when we explain it to anybody or students.
yeah,
I'm assuming that's kind of how a lot of teachers kind of explain the music language to a certain extent as well. So having that communication, but
yeah.
on the other, I mean, that was a great tune, and you guys will get to hear this. It was at the beginning of the end, as we were starting the live stream, and it'll play at the end of the live stream. So stay tuned to hear that amazing song called "Great Loss Is Yours If Your Love for Another Is Not Returned." Oh my God, that's like one of the longest,
Yeah, but
but it's
that's
great.
hilarious. All his titles are like that because he uses proverbs.
Ah,
He uses actual proverbs as his
mm,
titles.
love it.
And so, yeah, I love it too. His titles are the best. I've never had anyone whose titles have yet matched like
Yeah.
on that level, you
Oh
know?
my God. I just love it. And then I just love how it's like Bill Cole's Untempered Ensemble. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I get it now. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's awesome. Well,
It's supposed
and
to sound like that.
yeah, it's supposed to be that way. What are we talking about?
Stop being so Western. What is that? Western biased. Like, stop being so wet in your Western box.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what I did forget to do before we even like continue is we usually do like a cheers, like a virtual cheers with our drink here.
Okay, I have mine.
And and I
Yeah.
and I have mine too. But like, oh, what are you drinking?
I told you I was going to make a shake.
Oh, what's in your shake?
Oh, it has it has
Ooh.
peaches, banana. I also use this Irish moss, which is like this. It's
Wow.
supposed to have all these nutrients that your body needs, and coconut water.
Ooh, very nice. Man, we need to have another video or session with you about like smoothies and amazing what to put into your smoothie.
Yeah.
Well, I have
Okay.
a shake that has mango. No, I'm just kidding. I'm actually, as you guys know, I'm drinking a Truly, and for those of you guys who know, like I don't like, I'm not a beer drinker, so I really like a seltzer. But because I'm Mexican and I love the chamoy, I was explaining it to Lisette. Is I put chamoy. This is called chamoy, and it's mango flavored chamoy, and you dip it in and you just drink it, and it's so good. So salud
Ooh,
to you and to friends and to connecting and just having this conversation with you. Mm, great. So let's move on. So I'm excited because as I mean, I met you when we did Jazz House Kids.
mm,
You were a teaching artist, and when you came in, I was just like, whoa, that is so awesome. I loved just the whole thing of you coming in, playing the bata, playing the Latin percussion instruments for one of the Chica Power
yeah.
sessions that we had. So I had I know I was reading some of your bio, and I know that you attended LaGuardia High School of Music and Art, and then you went to Columbia University program with the Juilliard School. Am I correct?
Yeah, well, they had a Juilliard. So
Okay.
Columbia had a joint Juilliard program where they brought in teachers from Juilliard, and so you
Ah.
studied with them. And so I auditioned. Um, vocally. So like vocals,
Got
like
it.
when
Well, before you go into that, what I wanted to ask you though is
yeah,
how did your musical career even begin? There's always a beginning, right? There's always
yeah,
a beginning, a start,
okay.
and what really drew you to the Latin percussion just in general, or what was like your start that, because everybody has a beginning, it's
Yeah.
like what drew you to this career that you're in now? I'm always intrigued.
That's such a that's like we need a
Yeah,
three
cut it,
hour like
cut your whole life down
quest.
into 5 minutes, please.
Yeah, okay, 5 minutes. Let's see. Okay, it's done. We're gonna have to like fast forward. Um,
No.
I guess so. Oh gosh, because so primarily started singing as a child. Like that's what I
Mm,
did. I got into the children's metropolitan choir through singing at church. The person who played piano organ
okay.
auditioned me, and then I was accepted into that. So my first training, although I didn't attend it, because then ironically I moved. Not ironically, I only say I mean coincidentally. I don't know if I'm using it correctly because you're from Texas. That's when I moved to Texas. My mom was like, "Okay, we're going
Ah.
to Texas," and I'm like, "I want to go." She's like, "We're going to Texas." But when I came back and I went to music and art, then I started training classically
Mm.
in high school. So I was training classically, and while I was in high school, is when I started getting into playing drums because I had my first band, which was a funk band,
Ah. What was the name of your funk band?
Marmalade.
Ooh.
Yes, and Marmalade, and just so you know, Marmalade was when I was then seeing, like the classic, the A&R person sees you. So
Yep.
that's when I signed a what's called a spec or no a demo deal with Mercury Records.
Oh, how old were you?
When did I first 18, 19? No, 7 no, 17, 16 or 17. I don't remember.
Wow.
But I was very young and
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing. And so I was like, no, I was one of these like really difficult artists. Like,
Playing drum kit, I'm assuming? Is that like,
no, no,
what
no.
were you playing in the funk?
This was singing.
Ah,
The
singing.
drums
Okay, okay.
the drumming and stuff happened when I was like the tail end of high school. I was in a band and we would just play everyone's like we were just playing all the time. So we would switch off from instruments. And I found that I had like
Ooh.
this natural kind of like when I would play traps, I was like, oh, this just feels really natural for me.
Yeah,
Uh,
that natural talent.
and I didn't really and then I didn't really pursue it until like maybe a year later when I heard I was living with a friend who had me listening to Eric Dolphy's album Out to Lunch. And I
Mm.
heard Tony Williams on that. I was like, who is this?
Ooh.
I was like, who's this drummer? He's like, that's Tony. And I was like, okay, that's it. Like I was just completely, I have to learn how to play like this. And then I met my first drum mentor. I called him mentor, Peter Lewis, and then he brought me into the Kenwood Denard. I don't know if you know Kenwood Denard, but he's
I don't.
an extraordinary drummer who teaches at Berkeley, and he
Oh.
played with everyone from like Jaco Pastorius to
Ooh.
Maceo Parker to so
Yeah.
and just brilliant drummer and so those were like my first mentors that got me into
Wow.
playing traps. And then the bata situation happened when I asked my friend to teach me how to compose. And my friend, I call him
Wow.
my friend, but he's my brother, Orlando Fiol. We weren't allowed to say who my teacher was when we were learning from him because he was in the community, which is another story,
Ah, okay.
because he was teaching a woman. And so I
Mm.
go over to his house. We were, we grew up together we met in high school,
Okay.
and so he is my brother. And he literally, I was like, oh, I want to learn how to compose. He's like, okay, come over at this time. I go over to his house, thinking he's gonna show me how to compose. Brilliant musician. He is one, like in terms of just being like everything in terms of uh, thinking about music on a very high level. Like he's like the one who really
Guided
got me
you.
into thinking about music. About we would
Mm.
sit and listen to world music from India, and we would sit with like my professors from high school. We would all go over to this
Wow.
ethnomusicologist's house and just listen to world music all like for hours.
That's
Like we were a bunch of
awesome.
nerds, you know?
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
And so he taught Orlando, then says, okay, sit down. I sit down, he grabs the bata drum and he puts it on my lap. And
Wow.
he's like, I'm like, but I came here to learn how to compose. He's like, yeah, this is going to do it for you. And he was absolutely right because it just, in terms of counterpoint and thinking about how,
Mm.
right, and thinking about lines and things just kind of fitting in. I mean, it really opened up my ear in an amazing way. So,
And you know what? Like just even like when I read your, some of your bio and knowing you, I mean, I don't see a lot of females playing the bata percussion. Is that normal? Is that like do you see a lot of females playing? I mean, maybe now, yes, but it
definitely, yeah, definitely. It's much more popularized now. More
okay.
people are playing the trio bata now. Like when I was playing the bata, I was playing it like when I first started playing it was back in the 90s.
Ooh.
And back then it was like nobody was really. And when I went to Cuba, it was like the girls there, they could, because the way you're taught is by, it's an oral tradition because it's a talking drum,
Mhm.
there's a
Mhm.
language there. And so the girls would sit there and I went with my teacher at that time. We went to get a ceremony done. Both of us went to get our, what's called getting your guerreros,
Ah,
and
okay.
so getting your warriors. And he also went to get something where he was, um, I got kofa, but he was, how do you say, I'm trying to find the word. Well, it's when you're brought into a lineage, a
Okay.
drum lineage,
Okay.
and so he was brought into that drum lineage, but women are not because the drums they have something inside the drums, and that's a whole other story that could also take another 2 hours.
Wow.
But what I wanted to say was that the girls, they knew the rhythms like inside and out. Like they were sitting there while I had the drum on my lap, of course, right, and playing it. They could recite and sing all the rhythms, and like that's the way that I
Wow.
learned traditionally was singing the rhythms. Like I learned each drum. I learned first. First, I started on a. You start on the. I started on ototole because ototole we didn't have a third drummer at the time.
Okay.
Then Orlando, my teacher, he was like, then we were working with some young men that he was teaching. And then he decided he wanted to figure out, he heard about this woman, Elizabeth Sayer, who's an extraordinary bata player as well. Like just,
Mm.
and just reached out. Oh, I think he brought in Karen first. It's just my memory recall. But he started reaching out to other women because he wanted to create a community for me. That was
Right.
important for him,
Right, right,
of
right.
other women. And so he taught us together.
That's awesome. And so for
Yeah.
people who don't know the bata drum, can you explain just a little bit what the bata is?
Okay, so the bata drums they're originally from Nigeria. They were brought over, I mean, they weren't physically brought over, but right, the drums in terms of the cultural information was brought over during the slave trade to like
Mm.
Cuba, Puerto Rico. And so with it was, so it's trying to reel it all back in, all the info. So it's like it's a hourglass shaped drum, and I wish I had given you a picture so we could look at it. It's an hour shaped glass drum, and there are three of them. And so there's a big drum which is called the iya, which is the main drum which calls and stops and sort of leads into conversation, right?
Okay.
The total is the one that responds, which is the medium. So mama bear, right, papa bear, and baby bear, right?
Got it.
And so they have different sizes and they have different functions, like in the rhythm itself.
Ah.
But it's traditionally played by three men.
Mm.
Um, and
Okay.
in the way they play it in Nigeria, they play it differently, and I mean, you have smaller drums with them. So, but you can recognize the rhythms. Like the language is still there, even though it has transformed.
Right, 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 right. Man,
Yeah.
that's so cool. And before we're gonna show a video that you sent us of your performance. But before we go into that, one of the things that I wanted to ask was how difficult was it, or what was the process of you being a female percussionist? What's your experience with that? Because I feel like there's a lot of different experiences, obviously, but
Yes.
especially a percussionist, I feel like there's different experiences, and I'm always interested in asking a female percussionist what has been your maybe trials, challenges, maybe pros and cons. But I don't know. I just thought I'd ask you as a percussionist. I see you as a percussionist, but I know there's a lot of people who are females out there who probably have the same concept or are doing what you're doing, or looking at other females who are playing the same instrument. What's been your experience?
Um, I mean, the experience has been varied. I mean, it's been a journey, and so I want to give. I think the first person who really let us play in a where it was outside of a learning experience was Pupi, who was a dancer, Cuban dancer.
Mm.
Um, he was, like the place that you could play if you weren't playing in ceremony, even if you wanted to have that real experience of having dance and song, that like that whole traditional experience, you could find it as a dance, playing in dance classes.
Mm.
But those dance classes weren't. It was mostly, I mean, women weren't playing them, especially not on bata.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
he was the first person that really gave us that opportunity to play
Mm.
bata in that, and I'm forever thankful because those lessons
You
you
don't get.
you don't get. And
Yeah.
I think that that is one of the main conflicts that I dealt with internally and externally, is just being able to have access to playing with people. Because I mean, when you see the video, these are things that were said to me during the course of just playing percussion, and
Mm.
in different realms, like actual statements that were said to me, like women are not supposed to play about that, or that's
Mm.
not what. Or also the other thing was, like, a lot of the women that were playing in the States were mostly white women,
Mm.
or at least in the community that I
Right.
was
Right.
in.
Right.
And so and so at that time, I remember, and I don't remember why it was brought up, but it was just like, you're Latina, you should know better. Like you should know the tradition, and the tradition of Santeria, right? Like, in that
Uh,
context, like you should know
that's
better.
interesting.
Like they don't, because they're outsiders, and so like you
Right.
should know better, and also because, like, I come from a family where, although I was raised Catholic,
Mm-hmm.
my mother's history, my grandmother's history, and before, like, or they were all santeras. So that's already in my
Mm.
tradition. And so,
Right.
like, I feel like,
So
I
the
feel like,
stereotype, right, of just you being Latina, you should know already.
yeah, like, yeah,
Yeah.
you should know better, or like, you're disrespecting, and in your like you already know what it is. And in my head, I was thinking, well, if I wasn't, this wasn't something I actively sought out. It just
Mm.
literally fell into my lap. And so I felt like, if you want to talk about Orisha and energy and all of that and God, and, it was brought to me. So I feel like it was for a reason. Like, why am I going to say no to something if I have a passion for it?
Right. 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 Right.
And I think, like, a lot of young girls, I think nowadays I see so many young and talented players, percussionists, female. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many,
Yeah.
and it's great. I feel like, a lot of headway, and there's
A lot of Latinas, which is great. A lot of Latinas
yes.
playing and really coming out. And I think that's, like what I mentioned earlier with the educational program is like having Latinas and, Hispanic, the minority group coming into a different realm or coming into a different experience of having these opportunities to be actually a female and being able to play in a more male dominant space or career.
Yeah, I mean, I think it shows growth,
Yeah,
on
agreed.
both part. I mean,
Yeah,
I had men that would play with me because they enjoyed playing with me,
of
but would
course.
tell me not to tell anyone. Like,
Wow.
and
Oh,
so, like, yeah, well, I
whew.
mean, you know,
I know. I know.
at that time, you know, you just kind of said, okay, that's cool as long as I get to play. Like I was just happy to play.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't trying to make it into a political, or I wasn't, it wasn't until much later where I started to realize, no, I have to advocate for this, not because of me, but
Yeah.
because of like other young girls who I can relate to, who I'm teaching, who I see their insecurity,
Exactly.
that no one has a problem letting them feel that way.
Exactly.
You know, it's okay because then they're not taking my gig, or you
Exactly.
know, or just sort of their internalized patriarchy, which I think isn't inherent. I mean, I think even the best of, even with the best intentions, it's still there because it's something that hasn't been unpacked or deconstructed or dealt with, because most people um, don't really like, they have so many blind spots.
Agreed.
So sometimes you're dealing with men and you're just like, wow, that was a microaggression, but you don't know it. And I don't really want to take the time to teach you that right now, because because it's something that you have to like be willing to see for yourself.
Yeah.
And I dealt with that a lot, you know.
Yeah. Well, this video that we're going to show, it's going to explain a lot of like your career, and we can talk about it after the video. So I want you guys to turn up your volumes because we're going to watch this amazing video and of Lisette, and I hope you guys enjoy.
Ooh, a girl drummer.
What are you trying to prove by playing drums?
Isn't it hard for you to play those drums?
Come on, you don't mean you can't concentrate when you're playing beside an attractive woman that can play?
The way you play those bongos are
You sure
hot.
you wear a sexy outfit and heels to the gig?
Guys don't want a female on the road
You
with
know
them.
women aren't supposed to play bada. You a
You play
lesbian.
real good. I was surprised.
The problem is she's a
Be
feminist.
the next Sheila E.
Listen, I can play bada with you behind closed doors, but please don't tell
I didn't
anyone.
recommend you for the gig because I didn't think you could handle carrying all the drums.
Women dance because they don't have the upper body strength to play drums.
You're
Like a bird in the
The
sky,
client wants a female percussionist.
I wanna fly.
Bada?
too bad you
Like
don't
a
have
bird in the sky,
You bring an exotic female presence.
I wanna
Girl
fly.
drummer.
Like a bird in the
Isn't
sky,
it hard for you to play those drums? Girl
like a
drummer.
bird in the sky,
Girl
Beside
drummer.
an attractive woman that
like
can
a
play.
bird
Girl
in the
drummers, bongos, and
sky.
You wear a sexy outfit.
Guys don't want a female on the girl
You know
drummer.
women aren't supposed to play bada. You a lesbian.
You play real good.
By
I
playing
was
drums.
surprised.
Her
Cool.
problem
Isn't it hard
is
for you
she's
to
a
play those
feminist.
drums? Next Sheila E.
Listen, I can play bada with you
Girl
behind
drummer.
closed
The way you
doors,
play
but
those
please don't
bongos.
tell
I
anyone.
didn't recommend you drummer. I didn't think you could handle carrying girl drummer.
Women dance.
Cool. You play real
Girl
good.
has
Drummer.
the
I was
upper body
surprised.
strength. Women are supposed to play bada. The client
Girl
wants a
drummer.
female
Hard for you to play those drums. Girl bongos are hot. Play that nice one, girl drummer. Guys don't want a girl drummer. You play those bongos are hot. Girl drummer. Play those drums. Cool. Girl drummer. You play cool. Girl drummer. Play my top. Cool. Girl drummer. I want to let you know that cool. Girl drummer. It's hard to play those drums. Girl drummer. Cool. Girl drummer. Cool. Girl drummer. Bongos and hot.
you wear a sexy
Girl
outfit.
drummer. Cool. Girl drummer.
Attractive woman that
Cool.
can play.
Girl drummer. Bongos and hot.
You wear a sexy
Girl
outfit.
drummer. You play those guys don't want to play. Girl
You're
drummer.
supposed to play bada.
Girl real good. I was surprised. Sheila E.
I can play bada with you
Girl
behind
drummer.
closed
The way you
doors,
play
but
those
please don't
bongos.
tell
I didn't recommend you drummer. I didn't think you could cool carrying girl drummer. Cool. You play real good drummer. I was surprised.
supposed to play bada.
Cool. Girl drummer. Hard for you to play those drums. Girl bongos are hot. Play that you know girl drummer. Guys don't want to girl drummer. You play those bongos and hot. Girl drummer. Play those drums. Cool. Girl drummer. You play cool. Girl drummer.
What are you trying to prove
Isn't
by
it hard for
playing
you to play
drums?
those drums?
Qué chévere, una mujer que tocaba tambores.
¿Qué intentas probar tocando los tambores?
Oye, que no es difícil para ti tocar los tambores.
Las mujeres puertorriqueñas saben mejor que tocar bata.
Tú tocas profesionalmente.
Tocas muy bien. Me sorprendió.
La forma que tocas el bongo es
El
bastante
problema con
sensual.
ella es que ella es una feminista.
Mal que difícil para ti tocar los tambores?
No puedo tocar bata contigo. Detrás de las puertas se
Oya de, iba, iba, cheque, che.
saben mejor que tocar bata.
Oya de, iba, iba, cheque, che. Hago ima corona. Oya si de, oya de. Oya de, iba, iba, cheque, che. Oya de, iba, iba, cheque, che. Hago ima corona. Oya si de, oya de. Oya carayilo da marereo. Oya carayilo da marereo. Oya caca chango perula yeo. Oya caca. Oya caca chango perula yeo. Oya caca. Ogodo mi chocoto como se sea guayo. Oya caca chango perula ye. Oya caca chango perula yeo. Oya caca.
Difícil para ti tocar los tambores.
Oya caca chango perula yeo. Oya caca. Ogodo mi chocoto como se sea guayo. Oya caca chango perula ye. Oya wima wima. Oya wima wima. Chequete bembe a la cueruya. Oya wima wima. Oya wima wima. Chocoto bembe a la cueruya. Oh, oh, oh. Edu parejo que moleya. Oh, oh, oh. Edu parejo que moleya. Oh,
Você é
oh,
uma latina
oh.
super sexy, viu? Tocando esse instrumento massa.
Mulher tem que dançar porque não tem força no braço.
A merda é que ela é feminista.
Mas o que você quer provar aí tocando tambor?
Você toca profissionalmente?
Você sabia que mulher não pode tocar batá?
Oh, legal. Uma mulher que sabe tocar.
Eu posso tocar batá com você lá com a porta fechada, não vai falar pra ninguém.
Você é sapatona, é?
Eu não te recomendei pra ninguém porque você não ia conseguir carregar tudo aquilo pra quê?
Desculpa se você não tem um viral.
Olha, não vai dar pra mim ficar concentrar e tocar do lado de uma mulher gostosa desse
Se
jeito.
você vier pra aqui, vier bem sexy, sapato alto.
Opa, uma baterista. Ô menina, você toca tambor? Você toca
Caía la
você toca tambor?
Latina super sexy.
Ô menina, você
Wow. That was awesome. That was so, so, so cool. I mean,
Thank you.
wow, bravo. I mean,
Thank you.
true
Thank you.
Latina chica power right there. Just seeing you playing all those Latin percussion instruments. I loved how I got to see you, in your element and playing the different, percussion instruments. But then I also really like the connection that you had with each, like how you connected musically with each instrument and how it kind of changed when like the the language started to change also, like there was like this whole thing, and to also hear the comments of
Mm.
I
Yeah.
mean, and for those of you guys just tuning in, like Lisette said, the comments and what you were hearing were actual comments you've experienced as being a female percussionist. And I mean, wow, sometimes it can be, it throws you back to like, wait a minute.
Well, I mean,
you know?
you're a musician too, so I mean,
Yeah.
you deal with it too. I mean, here's the
Yeah.
thing, like this project, that's a 10-minute excerpt of a project that I wanted to put together for the longest, and it's called In Her Voice. And what I did is I
Mm.
just grabbed, I went through a whole gamut of different artists that I knew who are women of color, you know.
Mm.
So I had a Japanese woman, I had a woman from Haiti who's Haitian,
Wow.
myself, another woman who played Cora,
Excuse me.
so it was, and I wanted to give them like a little vignette, 10 minutes of them telling, talking, like speaking on their experience of what it is to
Wow.
be a woman artist, right? Like because it's one thing to be an artist, you're already marginalized,
Yeah,
right? In our culture
exactly.
specifically, right? And then it's another thing to be a woman and there. And then it's another thing to be, right, a woman of color and marginalized as an artist. Like and
Yeah.
it's just you're always, so it's sort of so much, like on top of trying to be. So what I did with that specific vignette, and it was my performance piece, right? what what I did was I asked the sound man to put those voices, which is like a din of male voices, in different worlds that I've been in. Like when my first real grown up, I say grown up, like out of the high school experience, was like playing New Orleans music. So that's where
Okay.
I got into playing New Orleans traps and singing, and I was
Yeah.
singing at that time. And so that was like my English, sort of my English language perspective was jazz and hip and R&B, and also like I was in a hip hop world for a minute where I sang on some stuff as when I was 16, where like my first recording experience was singing with Tribe Called
Ooh,
Q-Tip, Tribe Called
Q-Tip.
Quest.
Oh my God. Yes, of course I know
So
Q-Tip, Tribe Called.
I did a record. I'll
You
send it to
recorded
you.
with him, right?
I recorded something he was doing something for Jungle Brothers, and I recorded on a
Ooh.
12-inch version. I was like such a baby. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even get paid right. Shh. But it was like, right. So that was my very first. So it's like being and having been in so many different worlds and just hearing the different, and also like I had a lot of support from men as well. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
leave that
We're
out
not
as well.
degrading men, of
There was,
course. There's a
yeah,
lot of
right.
mentors.
Because
Yeah.
because ironically, there were men who were also so supportive and open doors as well.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
but in my personal experience, in terms of like what I had to deal with in my psyche, I asked the sound man put those voices really loud into
Monitors.
my
Yeah.
monitors, right? Because I wanted to have that real life experience. And you see me, like that's not a perfect by any means. Like that's my first time doing that performance piece. I wanted to feel interrupted, like
Yeah,
girl
like,
interrupt.
excuse me? It's kind
Yes.
of like when you're at a gig, right? And someone just comes up to you and it's like, say something and you're just like, I'm in the middle of like a solo. Like, why would I?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That kind of interruption. It's like, what?
Right. And that consistent interruption with those little voices that are then become recordings in your head. Like
Yeah.
I'm not good enough because or I have to dress sexy, or I'm selling myself as some kind of brand. So when I called my piece hashtag not a female percussionist. It was like I wanted to be considered without the modifier. I wanted to be considered as an artist, and whatever that means. Like
Right.
I don't want to be if that means like I have to go back and shed my butt off because I want to be a master and better at what I'm doing, then that's what it is.
Right.
But I don't want it to be considered. I don't want it to be something where it's like, why does it matter what gender I am?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
how dare you even like tell me what gender I am anyway?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Like
Right.
so it's a lot of that. But
Yeah, I mean, wow, thank you for sharing, those experiences and sharing that story. I think, because that's very deep, it's your experience as being not a female percussionist, right? Like, I mean, and we say that because, because it's something that is being brought up more and more, and we're seeing how, we don't, females don't want to just be known as, oh, she's a female saxophonist, oh, she's a female vocalist. Like, okay, like we know that, we know we're female, or if we're not if you don't identify with that, then we understand that as well. But it's just really understanding that concept of, I really enjoyed how you brought that concept of just feeling the real interruption of like hearing these comments that you've actually experienced, to being able to say, I'm not, I'm still going to play because this is the love of the artistry. I'm still doing what I do because I am an artist. So I think that's just so important and interesting, an interesting viewpoint, and I think people who are not artists or musicians sometimes don't understand that deep into that viewpoint. And I think, being seen as an art form rather than just the gender form, right? And so I think it's always just important to acknowledge and talk about it. And I appreciate you sharing that experience with us. And you talking about a little bit about who you've played with before. I was reading in your bio that you also played with some Cuban legends, or you've performed with some amazing Cuban legends such as Amelia Pedroso.
Amelia Pedroso, yes.
Yeah, I don't know her.
Yeah, not many people do. Like you would have to be really in the community to know her. But she was so a lot of people know her as like a akbon, which is like a singer. Like
okay.
She traveled a lot with Lázaro Ross, who is who has who is an amazing. I mean, he's like the go-to in terms of like oro cantado and like knowing those songs from like so like when you heard me singing, for instance, with the bata.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you.
Yeah, so that like when you play in a ceremony, there you can play through the whole liturgy of like where you're playing without any songs. And then after that is done in the ceremony, you will then play with song and dance.
Got it. Okay.
So that oro cantado, meaning that you're performing with song. And so he is like one of the primary elders of that tradition and so she traveled a lot with him. She also had her own group of women, beautiful
That's awesome.
women players. So she's one of the first women to really play in Cuba out.
Wow.
Not the only, but one of the first. So she is
That's
like
cool.
She paved the way.
Yeah,
For
definitely.
women to play, really.
Yeah, check her out, Amelia Pedroso. And also I was listening. I have heard of Panchito. No, not Panchito. Pancho Quinto.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm used to the Panchito Mexican name here over here, but
no,
Pancho Quinto.
No, pero no Panchito.
No Panchito, but Pancho Quinto. Yeah, I heard some of his.
Cuando él fue joven, when he was young. They called him
Panchito. No.
I'm just kidding.
Only when he was young, that's when they call him Panchito, no?
Panchito,
No, but Pancho Quinto. And I've heard some of his music, and when I was reading your bio, I was like, oh man, I need to go back and listen to that. And that he has some amazing pieces. Did you record with him or perform with him, or what did you have the experience with Pancho Quinto?
So with Pancho Quinto, when I went over to Cuba with my teacher, and he was teaching,
Oh,
and so I
wow.
was sitting in on those lessons and learning from him. I
That's
also,
awesome.
yeah, when I went to Cuba, I mean, he's phenomenal. Also, when I did my ceremonial at that house of Pancho Quinto, which is a legend, it's a house, it's a lineage. And so, like some great drummers like Roman Diaz, like they come out of that same household, that's the
Wow.
same padrino, so to speak.
Man,
Yeah.
and and then also like you've worked with some Brazilian, amazing Brazilian musicians.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say the name. Is it Sairo?
Yeah, so if, Ciro Batista is
Ciro. Okay.
actually, yeah. So Ciro, he's another mentor of mine.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, because he's the actual person that got me into playing theremin, which is a
Mm.
crazy instrument. Theremin.
I've never seen that
It's
instrument.
the first electrical instrument that was created by a Russian scientist, and it was like you
Ooh.
interrupt the wavelength, and so you can get different frequencies, and so you create melody. It's like I have to
Wow.
play it for you one day. I'll play it for you.
Yeah, we'll have to bring you back on and have you do some we'll just do a session where you're showing us all these Latin instruments, Latin percussion instruments.
Theremin is not Latin, but it's
Well,
Russian.
yeah,
But
Russian,
I'll play
Russian.
Russian. I'll play theremin.
Why not?
Why not? Make it a party.
And just to name a few, I mean, I know you've done and recorded and performed with some amazing people: Jeremy Pelt, Ron Carter, Billy Drummond, Mike Moreno, Warren Smith, a lot of amazing musicians. And so my other thing is, as an artist and as a percussionist, how did you even begin learning? Just, I mean, you told us how you started some of the styles with the bata and the Cuban, you know, folk music. How did you even expand and explore other, styles and techniques? Like, what was, because you don't always have those opportunities to go into like Puerto Rico or Cuba or, Brazil and actually have these experiences, maybe through school, through like master classes and stuff like that. But how did you expand as a percussionist to just learning these techniques and styles?
I mean, I was really lucky by way of just living in New York,
Yeah.
I mean, like the Brazilian scene, I was married to someone from Rio. And he was
Mm.
also a percussionist. And so we worked a lot together. Ciro and Savannah Magda. So my first real into the Brazilian scene when I was playing Bahian music, which is more African,
Oh.
and so I played with a band called Organs, which was some amazing players came out of there. I mean, if I need, we can
When you
go
say
from
Bahian music, it's from Bahia.
Bahia,
I
and then
only know, I don't, sorry to interrupt, but I only know Bahia because I watched the Disney movie, The Three Caballeros, and the little like pato goes to the bird goes, he's Brazilian, right? So it's Donald Duck, and then it's like the Mexican rooster, and then it's like the Brazilian parrot or something, and he goes to Bahia. So that's the only reason why I know Bahia. So when you said Bahia, I was like, oh my god, I know Bahia, but I really don't.
Yeah,
But
I
that's
mean,
awesome.
Bahia is really the in terms of the most intact African tradition musically, it's in
Mm.
Bahia. It's centralized in Bahia. But
Wow, that's interesting.
samba, which is like everybody knows samba,
Right.
that's also African based too, because
Yeah.
even the term samba, right? So, but that's more like the carioca meaning another way of saying Rio. That's that
Mm.
tradition from Rio,
Okay.
and that's when I went from from Organs, from that Bahian experience, I went into now Ciro's band. Now Ciro's band it's called Beat the Donkey. It was called Beat the Donkey. I mean, we haven't played
Beat the
in quite some
donkey.
time, but
Wow.
it is an amazing group. I mean, you can Google it and look it up. But
Yeah,
it was
we'll have to check out Beat the Donkey.
Beat the Donkey. And for a minute there was a time where we were getting a lot of complaints on the album that we did. We were getting a lot of complaints about beating the donkey from animal activists who
Oh.
were like, no, you can't beat the donkey. That's just cruel. So they had to call the album Love the Donkey. Now I don't know if it was done like
Oh
as a
my
joke,
God.
but or if it was like pressure, but it's the funniest story. And so like with Cyril's what makes so now Cyril's played with everyone from Wynton Marsalis to like if you want to think of he's on Cassandra Wilson albums.
Wow.
If you want to think
Okay.
of an eclectic drum percussionist, like Cyril's just one of those people and he's played with Yo-Yo Ma, like he's played,
Yeah.
so he's like for me a model of somebody like what a true percussionist is they can go into any situation and learn the language.
Yeah.
And
Multiple
by,
genres and
yeah,
cultural.
and by being in New York, I just had a lot of teachers. I had a lot of mentors.
That's
I had,
awesome.
I studied a lot. I went to Brazil and played in Brazil. I went to Cuba and played in Cuba and learned in Cuba. I learned, with some
Yeah.
great. So
That's
it's
the
like
best
that.
way.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, here's the thing, like, you can't if you have a seeking spirit, there's just no way that you cannot
Mm.
become better at what you're doing, no
Yeah.
matter what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, and that kind of segues me into my next question is you as a composer. How interesting to know you're a percussionist, you're also, you're able to, sing, you're a vocally trained singer, and you just are also a composer at the same time. And it was very interesting when you brought that up at the beginning when we were talking about the bata and how the bata is like, oh, the bata is going to help you compose. And so I know we have another song that we're going to be showcasing, or just a little snippet of something, but yeah, give us a little bit of background on the composer part of it, and what this next song that we're gonna, just the next excerpt of something, but
Sure.
how did that begin?
So I mean, I wouldn't consider, I wasn't formally schooled. Like I'm really self-taught, and a lot of it was mostly like when I was in high school. There's the library right across the street from LaGuardia is the music, the Lincoln Center, that library.
Yeah.
And so I would just go there and just listen to classical or jazz, and I would just follow. You could get the scores out, and I would just follow along with the scores. And so that already, even though I couldn't really read music at that advanced level, it sort of just started implanting itself. And then I started learning formally how to read, and in high school, of course, right, learning how to sight read and sight sing. And then of course just reading scores. Like that's how I'm pretty much a self-taught. I'm still learning,
Yeah.
composition just by listening, and and a lot, and it's not with a lot of how do you say, pleasurable frustration. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like I know I'm going to get something at the end of it, but I'm sitting a lot of hours just trying to get it right. And I
Right.
think when I think of like the person that has the most influence, I think of like Bach, just because Bach, so my first instrument was piano as a kid. And I didn't play Bach when I was a kid, just so we understand that. That was much later. But like, when you even look at his music and start learning it, it's just all melodic. It's just melodies built on top of melodies, and it's just so when I think of it as a composer, I think really melodically. Like I think of a lot of contrapuntal, and I think of melody. And so melodies for me have, as a singer, as you know, melodies come easy.
Yeah. That's the first thing that everyone hears, right? It's like the melodies.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this next little small snippet or excerpt that we're gonna listen to, what is it?
Okay, so I started writing a suite. I was invited to write a composition for a Asheville music percussion festival, and so I've always wanted to write a piece that involved like my idea about the synchronicity of nature, called simpatia. And so like, I found the term simpatia when I was reading an article. Yeah, I mean, it all comes together, right? So I was reading an article about what simpatia means, and it's a Greek term for basically what it means is just like the interconnectedness of nature. And so I wanted to use the orisha, like, because each orisha represents a natural, right, energy, like fire, air, water.
Right.
And so I put this suite together. And so the snippet that I have is water. And if you listen to it, I don't know how much we'll listen to it, we'll see the transition. But the beginning starts with Oshun, a rhythm for Oshun, who is the river. And it's Wait, I'm trying to remember if it is Oshun. And then we go into Yamaya. Or is it Yakuta? It might be Yamaya and the two energies of Yamaya. Trying to remember. Oh my God.
Well, how about we listen to it and then you
Yeah,
can
let's listen
explain
to it
it.
and then I
Let's
can
do that.
remember it.
Okay. So everybody, we're going to listen to just it's called Water, which is an excerpt from Simpatia that Lisette was mentioning. So turn up your volumes and check it out. Wow.
Yeah, that's a little something.
Yeah, you guys got a sneak peek into this new excerpt here that Lisette Santiago is writing here. Man, I love how it sounds like water.
Yes.
I really get the feeling of like, the composing and the melodic part of how water would sound.
Yeah. I mean, and
Which is
also
great.
the different energies, right? Like in the
Yeah.
beginning, it's like drip drop, and
Yeah.
then there's the ocean. So it's like Yamaya, who is like the ocean, the Orisha for ocean. Thank you. I mean,
Yeah, that's
still
really
so,
cool.
I'm still so like, wow, this is like so, it's still so new to me,
Yeah.
even though like I've been like, it's been happening over a span of many years, right?
Yeah.
But like now it's happening. I'm actually trusting myself to do it. And,
Yeah.
Sibelius helps.
Yeah, for all
That's
you Sibelius people out there, woo, doing some. We'll have to. Abel, who is telling me right now, he says we're gonna have to do a virtual session on that excerpt or something. Maybe we could put something together. Who knows? Like do a virtual session, meaning actually use your composition and maybe do something with it.
Well, the first composition, it has voices, so I'm just saying.
There's some
singing with it.
possibilities of some cool things. No, that's really awesome. And in the whole suite, what are do you have like titles for the songs right now, or is it still in working
Yes, so the
progress?
first, I have earth, air, and water. And I still have to write fire, and then we'll see. But yeah,
Interesting.
so they're just
I'm
simple
looking forward
titles,
to it. Yeah.
Huh?
It's like it reminds me of it was like a cartoon, was like the planet, Dr. Planet, or I can't remember his name, and they would be like Earth, Wind, Fire, and they'd come together and be like Captain Planet. That's what it
Captain
was.
Planet. Oh my God, I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but it reminds me of like the whole the elements of nature,
Yeah.
and just
Well, I
like
mean, that's like, so
having that
the sweetest simpatia. So I was thinking I
simpatia.
wanted to touch on the elements of nature, like, but
Yeah.
it's also, it's kind of like my ode to earth, because I feel like, we don't really respect it enough,
Yeah, yeah,
and I feel like our ancestors did.
yeah, yeah. A lot of our ancestors did, and took that, the nature and the simplicity and what it actually provides us each and every day. Of how important it is just to even breathe clean air. Thinking of all our friends and folks in California, and hoping that everyone's safe. It's really sad to hear that.
And in
But
Oregon, right? In Oregon.
yeah. So many other places and stuff. So keep that earth safe, and that's kind of why you wrote this excerpt, right? Or this suite, I would imagine, kind of making sure we keep in mind of our elements, and
Still writing it.
still writing it.
But I mean, here's the thing: like, we're
Yeah.
all connected, whether we want to,
Yeah.
as cheesy as it sounds, it's like, it's true. It's like I know when I'm working on my garden, like when I am, which has been, hard to find the time to do. But when I do work on certain things like gardening or something, like I feel like they almost like they smile back at you. Like,
Yeah.
there's this just sort of this connectedness that's energetic. Like,
Right.
you can't explain it any other way. And
Definitely.
people can laugh at it, but I mean, it's science.
Yeah.
And people laugh at science too. So
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah. Well, Lisette, I mean, thank you so much for sharing all this insight and experience, and your artistry, and your music, and, soon to come suite that we'll be hearing, hopefully, 2021?
And performing. Like,
You never know.
Musicians, like,
I know. But even just like having you, take the time and doing this. But one thing I want to kind of end with, is there anything that you would like to mention to any of our young artists or the next generation of musicians? How important, just to keep going during these difficult times, and what advice can you give to even just not even our young artists, just in general, to all our artists who we need to uplift in the community right now, supporting all the Black Lives Matter community, the Latinos, enjoying this National Hispanic Heritage Month, and, just a lot of that, I really, what any advice you'd like to give before we end tonight's show?
Wow. That kind of, I feel like, if we show deference to each other, there's no way that we can't all get through it together. I mean,
That's
resilience is not a one person job. It's like, if we could,
Yeah, we're all going through it. We're all going through all these things, and it just
and I think, like, just stay connected. I see a lot of the young people right now who are out there protesting and playing music, and it's just a beautiful thing to watch. I mean, I do it in my own way with teaching the kids. Like, I feel like with music education, it's more important more than ever, because you can't kill something when we are continuously planting seeds.
Yeah.
And so, like, whatever way whatever attempts are made at trying to make something irrelevant, we as long as we keep planting it in the younger generations, like, you can't kill it.
Right. And I think also you probably would agree with me on this. We always want to remind people to just exercise your right to vote right now, especially in this time. Register today if you're not registered. It's been really important, and I think a lot of artists have also been just saying that's one thing we can all do together. Whatever it is that whoever you want to vote for, just go and vote. It's very important right now in this time.
But do we want to say whoever you want to vote for?
You can vote for whoever you want, but you can vote for whoever. It's a free country, right? But I'm just saying, you got to vote. You got to vote. Everybody, it's so important. Our young generation, everybody
Advocate.
really advocating, and people who are standing up for this. This is the time to continue. And we at the Jazz Exchange, this is our way of, uplifting the community, supporting Black Lives Matter, supporting, those who are in need of the support, and just in general, keeping connected and staying uplifted. So, Lisette, thank you so much for being here with us this evening and sharing all your insight. All our viewers here tonight, thank you guys for tuning in live and watching with us. If you're catching the tail end of it and you want to go back, it will be on our Facebook page, and you can watch also through our website, thejazzexchange.org. Again, Lisette, thank you so much for your time and being here with us. A pleasure. Salud, and have a
Cuídate.
good night. Sí, cuídate y ahí estamos para la próxima, ¿no?
Sí. Y un beso para Evelyn.
Sí, claro que sí. Claro que sí. Thank you so much. And just to let you guys know, next Wednesday, we're going to have the amazing piano player, Fabian Almazan, and Abel will be hosting that live stream next Wednesday. So tune in with us, and thank you guys so much. And thank you again, Lisette. Have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.